Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic. Which is what if Naruto's shadow clones summoned Sakura and Ino? Harem Story, Part 2. Let's start the fanfic. The office had the chill air of a room that hadn't been used in quite some time. Even with the light on, the room had a dimness that made it difficult to notice the uncleaned corners of the room. Sakura had been in this room a few times before, mostly as a curious young girl following a giggling Ino to explore her father's ninja stuff. The mystery of the room had long since vanished from her, and now it was simply Inoichi's office, filled with various books and mementos from previous missions. Several photographs of previous Ino Shika-Cho teams hung on the wall in a series. Ino's own team was up there as well, looking none too pleased with her team. "It's good that you've been here before." Inoichi gave her the same kind smile he had always given her. Being comfortable in the environment will make the mind less hostile. This was a comfortable environment. She felt like she got sent to the principal's office at the academy for something that she didn't do. "Are minds normally hostile?" "Well, no." Inoichi scratched the side of his cheek. "However, Ino told me about your fight during the Chunin exams. She said that your mind was, well, let's just say you have a powerful will, so I want to make this as easy as possible." Sakura frowned and glared at Ino's photo on the wall. That damn pig probably said that because her forehead was so big there was too much mind to take over or something. "Where is Ino, by the way? I haven't seen her in a while. Not since she pulled that little prank on her and Naruto's not really a date. Wait a second. Ino swapped her and Naruto's minds. It was only for a few minutes, but was Ino's small prank really the source of everything? Was it possible for a part of her to be left in Naruto's mind? What about Naruto? Did he leave any part of him within her? Was that even possible? Because Shikamaru made Chunin, their team has been sent on more missions than the rest of your class, longer ones too." He picked up a photo from his desk and smiled at it, then towards Sakura. He turned it around to show it was an old photo of her and Ino playing at the park. "She complains about it a lot but says she has to keep going, especially because of you." "Me?" Sakura shook her head free from the thoughts as she stared at the photo. "Ino says that with you getting stronger and working so hard with Tsunade, she needs to give it her all. She doesn't want to lose to you again." Sakura snorted. "Yay, well, I'm not going to lose to her. And it's not going to be a draw next time." Inoichi gave a laugh as he returned the photo to its rightful place. "Anyways, let's get to work, alright." With a quick nod, Inoichi went to work. Sakura was eager to find out if there was anything wrong with her mind, or perhaps if she could show Inoichi some of the memories, that might be enough to convince Tsunade. Sakura gave a soft gasp as Inoichi placed his thumbs to her temples, his pointer fingers hooking behind her ears, and pinkies to her chin. Immediately she felt his chakra invade her mind. It wasn't like Tsunade's where she felt warm and inviting, rather Inoichi was cold and penetrating. The healer's salve to the torture's needle. Well, your mind appears to be in one piece, with no signs splintering or fracturing from genjutsu or stress. If anything, I'd say your mind is one of the stronger, more put together ones." The praise was unexpected, but Sakura's blush died when she heard the underlying tone in Inoichi's voice. A sense of worry and concern. "But," Sakura prompted Inoichi to continue. She heard him swallow as a deep frown appeared on his face, highlighting the wrinkles growing on his face. "It feels like there should be something more there. Ino mentioned that you had some kind of mental guardian or something that assaulted her when she entered your mind. But it's not there." "Mental guardian? What on earth was that? How did she even have one?" "No." He gave her a small nod. "But there's a space where it should have been. But, yes, I believe I know what it was." This was still the first she heard of it. How come nobody else told her that she had something else inside of her head? Wait, was that why her forehead was so huge? What is it? Well, how do I explain this? Inoichi paused for a moment. When you were younger you were quite right. Constantly worrying about how others thought about you, so kept your real emotions bottled up so that others wouldn't judge you for them. The painful accuracy of Inoichi's observation struck Sakura's nerve. I'm not like that anymore. Exactly. This mental guardian was likely the manifestation of your inner thoughts you kept bottled up. That made a lot of sense. She used to often think one thing but say something else entirely. It's likely to have been absorbed into the rest of your mind now that it's not needed. Still, it's unusual for such a thing to vanish completely in such a short time. Inoichi paused. But then again, you have been through a lot recently. Stupid question, Sakura asked, feeling desperate to switch the subject. But would it that piece of my mind to be left behind? There was a pause. What do you mean? Well, a while ago Ino pulled a prank on me and Naruto by having us switch bodies. She could feel Inoichi tense as she spoke the truth. And ever since then, I've been getting memories of Naruto making a clone about me. So you're saying Ino used her clan's technique to pull a prank on you? Was that all he got out of this? His jaw clenched before he let out a long sigh. I'll deal with my daughter later, but I'm skeptical to believe that something like that can happen. The mind as a whole, it can be broken and damaged, but part of it can't simply be left behind like that. But my memories, Sakura shouted, pulling away from him. I get them every day. If I can just show them to you, I know that you'll understand and believe me. Please, I need you to realize they're not just daydreams. Quote. Inoichi sighed, running a hand through his long hair. It's not that simple. The clarity that I can view memories is limited to how well I can view my own memories. Normally this isn't a problem, as Yamanaka have a brilliant mind for it, or we're dealing with any enemy where we can be a little less careful. So what are you saying? Sakura asked, in desperate need for a pillow to scream into and something to punch. I can still look at your memories if that's what you want. But you're a smart girl. I've seen you read a book faster than most adults and retain more information from reading a single page than I could from an entire chapter. Inoichi deflated slightly. You'd be an ideal target if you were an enemy, but I don't have any gentle techniques for determining if something is real or not, especially when dealing with a memory like yours. There was a forehead joke in there somewhere, she just knew it. Seriously, it was like every adult was going out of their way to blow off her problem like it was absolutely nothing. Just forget it, I'll figure out some way to prove it to Tsunade. Sakura, while I can't lie to the Hokage, you're not one to lie about something like this, so for what it's worth I do believe you, but what my techniques can do in this situation is limited. Sakura sighed and pushed her anger into the back of her mind to be used later. Thank you for your help, Inoichi. I think I have an idea of what's going on now, and when you see Ino, tell her I want a rematch. 4x. Sakura glared at the rubber ball in her hand. The first step of the Rasengan was deceptively easy. All she had to do was spin the chakra around in several directions until it popped, and that was the correct way, not the cheat way where she made the water into a sharp needle popping the balloon. But the second step was the hard part. The power she needed to pump enough chakra into the rubber ball to cause it to burst, not just tear and let the air out. With her smaller chakra reserves, she could only do a few attempts before she had to rest. Rog, she snarled out in frustration, pumping as much chakra as she could into the ball while trying to spin it. She clutched it with her other hand, forcing in chakra from both directions. The rubber ball remained steady for just a moment. Nothing. You were close that time, Sakura. Naruto replied helpfully from his own training. His own shirtless workout training that left his body glistening with sweat. His lean ninja muscles flexing with every motion. Worse still was the way he smiled at her like he didn't know he was the biggest distraction in the world. Just a few more times and you'll have it down. Over the past month of training and spending every single day with Naruto, Sakura was fully aware of the fact that she was crushing on Naruto hard. Hard like his chest muscles, the boy had definition. In half a year Naruto had gone from barely a blip on her radar to sitting in the captain's chair of her desires, drinking wine and using Sasuke as a footstool. She wasn't certain what changed, what she wanted or what Naruto offered. Perhaps both. She had to keep reminding herself that this was Naruto, that he was real and that she was a clone and she was trying to help him to get the real her to fall in love with him. but it was becoming increasingly difficult to not just take him for herself. The real Sakura wasn't here, she was probably in Konoha, still dreaming about Sasuke. While she was here with Naruto and more than willing to go on a few dates with him. And the real Sakura wouldn't ever know about it. Sakura swallowed and tore her eyes from Naruto's succulent neck muscles, banking on Naruto not seeing her blush or thinking it was from training. Why do I have to do this part? I'm just learning it to help you form the Rasengan. Because you can't skip a step with a technique like this, Pinky, Jiraiya said from his perch, actually watching them train for once. It was becoming more frequent for him to point them in a direction or offer a few tips to help their training along. Jiraiya was the river Naruto's training followed, while Sakura was the rudder of his boat guiding him through the waters. She still thought he could do more. Naruto can do the first step just fine on his own, he needs a clone for the third step, so you need to get to the third step to be able to help him. Jiraiya smiled as he flipped another page of his notepad, and began to scribble something down onto the blank page. I can try and help you, Sakura, Naruto said from right in front of her, causing her to jump slightly. She had been so focused on trying her hardest not to fawn over his shirtlessness that he had snuck up on her. Unless you want to call it for today. No. Sakura shouted as she pressed the ball into Naruto's chest to try and stop him from getting any closer. She'd called him a pervert forever, and yet now here she was ogling him with her mind so far in the gutter that people would think she was Jiraiya's apprentice. I think I can do one more try. Naruto nodded and stepped around behind her, grabbing her arms and guiding them into position. I started by squeezing the ball tight at first and imagine that's my chakra that I'm squeezing tighter and tighter. His breath was on her ear, sending a fridge went chill down her spine, stirring a tornado of butterflies in her stomach. She wasn't even thinking about chakra at the moment. All that she was doing was trying desperately to, she didn't know what she was doing. To hell with the real Sakura, Naruto was hers. Yay, just like that. Wait, she was doing something. Sakura's eyes flickered to the ball just in time to see it bulge and then burst with enough force to knock her further into Naruto and then keep going backward. Apparently being perverted maid gave her more chakra. Or something like that. A familiar nothingness washed over her as she felt herself vanish. 4x. That bitch. Sakura swore the second the memories hit her. Her clone, a part of herself, was plotting to take Naruto all for herself. Oh sure, she'd probably do the same thing if Ino was interested in Naruto. But no, this was herself. She was literally planning on stabbing herself in the back. Excuse me, Tenten asked with a small frown, spinning her bow staff as she walked onto the matted floor of the dojo with an extra bounce in her step. Oh, I just remembered something that Ino did is all. Technically not a lie, this whole thing was Ino's fault. Sakura gave Tenten a small bow and smiled, thanks again for agreeing to do this. Tenten gave a small laugh, her bow staff perched on her shoulders to make a shelf for her hands to rest. No problem, I'm always down for a spar, I'm just surprised you asked me for this. Well, you're a better fighter than me. Sakura gave her body a long stretch that did nothing to release the pent-up frustration from Inoichi's failure today, and now the swelling rage of her own clone trying to steal her crush away from her. Besides, I need to go against somebody that won't cry when I hit them. Well, you are Tsunade's apprentice. Tenten let the bow staff slide from her shoulders so that she could rest her head on it. Even I admit I'd be afraid of a full-powered punch from somebody called her apprentice. That would explain why everybody else she asked had refused. If she had managed to find Ino, she would have dragged the girl here by her hair to beat the tar out of her. Yay, well, I don't quite have her strength yet. Hee, that's good to hear. Anyway, Tenten kicked her staff, making it roll around her neck and back into her hands for a fighting stance. I'm ready when you are. 3. Sakura began. 2. Tenten sat the pace. 1. They shouted at once, their bare feet bouncing off of the soft mats of the dojo floor. The bow staff would give Tenten extra speed, power, and reach, while still maintaining a close guard. In a non-ninjutsu environment, it was simply better than fists. But Sakura didn't know how to use one properly. And she really wanted to punch something. 4x. Shadow Clone Jutsu. She was grabbing onto Naruto before she was fully aware of her own existence. She was squeezing both of his bare shoulders, hardly able to contain her excitement. I did it right. That was it. The Rasengan. Naruto said nothing, his eyes wide with surprise as they shot down to her chest. He pulled his head away as a blush exploded on his face, but his eyes struggled back to her chest. It happened in a heartbeat. Naruto was shirtless. He had summoned her. She appeared in whatever he was wearing. She was shirtless. And Naruto had seen her topless. Sakura gave a cry and in one fluid motion slapped Naruto hard enough to send him tumbling away from her, while she crouched down trying to hide everything with her knees and arms. Pervert. I'm sorry, Sakura. I forgot. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Gah. Naruto scrambled about like a chicken with his head cut off. Sakura's entire body blushed. Naruto had seen her topless, the first boy to do so. It wasn't even the right time for it. What did he think about them? They were small. Didn't Naruto like big ones? Was he going to stop liking her now that he's seen her chest? She wished she could disappear. Wait, she was a clone, she could just disappear. Here. Naruto's voice startled her as she was just about to vanish. She felt Naruto's jacket fall across her shoulders. Had it always been so warm and comforting? It was somehow different from when she was summoned wearing his jacket. This felt safer, more intimate, like Naruto was hugging her. With her face still, red, Sakura put Naruto's jacket on, zipping it up tight. From her crouched position she glared up at Naruto, her knees still pressed to her bare chest inside of Naruto's jacket. The edges of her vision were blurred with tears. They're still growing, okay? Huh. So forget you saw them, okay? Sakura looked away from him, staring at the ground. The inside of Naruto's jacket was rough and warm, just like him. It was like putting on a pair of thick socks fresh from the dryer on a cold day. They're not that great right now. Naruto stammered out. She returned her glare to him with all the ferocity of a wet kitten. He swallowed, his blush unrelenting across his face. Well, I like them. It baffled her how he was able to stare directly at her and say that he liked her underdeveloped. It was almost enough to make her laugh. Of course, Naruto would say something that was both stupid and romantic. She shook her head and looked away from him. Pervert. A small smile graced her lips as Naruto began to grovel for the forgiveness he already had. Didn't mean she couldn't torture him with it a little bit. I'm sorry, Sakura. Naruto got on his knees behind her and pressed his hands and forehead to the ground. I wasn't thinking, I was just so happy that you got past the second step. So please don't be mad, I'll make it up to you. And how will you do that? Sakura forced her smile into a frown as she turned to look at Naruto, blinking a few tears into existence. It may be manipulation, but it was the right kind of manipulation that was good for everybody. Naruto sat back on his legs and scratched the back of his head. I don't know, but just don't be sad for now, Sakura, just let me. How about? Her frown melted into a warm smile. This was it. This was her chance to take Naruto away from her Sasuke-loving real self in Konoha. The next time we're in a big city or someplace fun, you take me out on a real date. Naruto's eyes went wide before he nodded vigorously. Okay. 4x. Sakura glared off into the horizon, in the general direction she thought that her backstabbing, traitorous, crush-stealing bitch of a clone was hiding. Oh. When Naruto got back, she was going to have a nice long talk with her clone. I can't believe I'm so mad at myself. Pulling her hair, Sakura rolled back onto the soft grass of her training field. This was giving her a massive headache. Her clone acted like she was someone else completely different from her, but Sakura got all of the clone's memories, so she was basically her clone, but her clone wasn't her even though it was her. Damn it. Naruto. Why do you have to be so weird? Wow. Forehead fantasizing about Naruto now, are you? A voice Sakura knew all too well called from behind her. Sakura leaned back to make certain that her target was here. Standing on the field with a smug smirk on her face was Ino. My dad said you wanted to spar me, so what do you? Sakura spun onto all fours and glared at Ino. You. Sakura launched at Ino, going from crouching to full sprint so fast she skipped the steps in between. All of the anger she had against her clone was now directed to the person that caused this whole mess. Ino screamed and immediately started to run away, survival instincts kicking in. What's wrong with you, Sakura? You. Sakura frothed. Part of her was enjoyed playing the part of the wild beast. Ino ran around a large boulder. Sakura took the shortcut. With a clenched fist she didn't even think about it and summoned the smallest drop from her 100-strength seal. The boulder turned to rubble. What did you do? I don't know. Ino shouted as she pressed her body against a large tree like it would save her. Just talk to me. Sakura walked up to Ino and grabbed her friend by the collar of her shirt. When you switched mine and Naruto's bodies, did you leave something behind? I don't know. I just did the jutsu, and then reversed it. It was just a prank. Ino whined as she flinched under Sakura's fist. Did something happen? Sakura narrowed her eyes at Ino, dropping her onto her butt. Ever since you did that prank when Naruto uses his shadow clone, he creates a clone of me, and I get the memories of my clone running around out there having fun with Naruto. Why do you sound jealous? Really, Ino? That's what you take away from that? Sakura flopped her arms and huffed. She turned away from Ino to hide her blush. Because of my clone I have a crush on Naruto, and now that clone is trying to steal Naruto from me before he gets back to the village. Wow. The blonde just smiled. My fault I guess. So are you mad at me or your clone? Ino asked. She stood just outside of swinging range. Which was smart, as she was still on the top of Sakura's punch list. Yes, Sakura said in the most neutral tone she could muster, which was one step above total bitch. Ino took a step back, positioning her father to act as a barrier for when Sakura inevitably exploded. To which one? Both. Her resting bitch voice was acting up. With a sigh, Sakura let go of the fist she wasn't even aware that she was having. She should be happy. Today was the day that she was going to prove to Tsunade that she wasn't insane, and hopefully get to the bottom of this. They're going on a date tonight. Your clone is? Inoichi asked, looking equally troubled and amused by the whole situation. Sakura had begged him to come with her to inform Tsunade about the part of her mind that was apparently missing. He agreed so long as Sakura stopped sending Ino home half covered in bruises. It wasn't her fault that Ino bruised like a banana. Sakura nodded. Yep, the bitch is trying to steal him from me. When on earth did she become so possessive of Naruto? But she's you. They passed effortlessly into the upper reaches of the Hokage's tower, the office but a few feet away. She might be part of what makes me, and we might have an identical past. Sakura paused as they arrived right before the Hokage's office. Once again feeling the fear of being a fresh-faced ninja that did not belong in the Hokage's office. But she is not me. She doesn't know about me being trained by Tsunade, or that I'm even receiving her memories. If she did, she would have sent a letter or something. I see, Inoichi half muttered, either immune or unaware of Sakura's terrible mood. He was Ino's father after all. I see why you're so hellbent on this then. I'll support you, however I can. Inoichi was getting a cup that said, Best Dad, on it this year. She still had yet to tell either of her parents anything about it. She'd rather not die of embarrassment before Naruto came back. Her father would just laugh and make jokes about it, and her mother would constantly ask how things were going, and she wasn't ready for her parents to know anything about that. Her mother was also a bigger gossip than Ino, and half the town would know that she had a crush on Naruto. With a sigh, Sakura pushed the door of the office open. Her anger must have leaked into her muscles as she slammed the door open hard, waking the slumbering and likely hungover Tsunade up and causing Shizune to jump in surprise. What's going on? Tsunade's head shot from the desk, a bit of her hair pressed against her forehead. Are we under attack? A ray of clarity shined through when her eyes locked onto Sakura. Oh, Sakura, it's just you. Please don't slam the door. Master. Sakura walked firmly out into the center of the room and squared her shoulders. She let her anger and desperation out with a simple breath. Remember the goal, but focus on what's in front of me. I have something to show you. Oh, and what would that be? Tsunade gave her a curious smile and rested her chin in the palm of her head. Sakura tried to ignore the condescending tone that spilled from her master's voice that made her nose crinkle in disgust. She could smell the alcohol on her master's breath, like a puppy's, only without the cuteness to make it not as bad. Would you say that you have a good understanding of what I do every day, and what I'm capable of? Yes. Tsunade's answer sounded like a question. The amusement was gone from Tsunade's expression, replaced with confusion. You're one of the hardest working students I've had. You practically eat, sleep, and breath my instructions, but what's all this about? So there's no way that I would be able to learn the Rasengan, is there? The Rasengan takes months to learn properly, Shizune said in Tsunade's stead. And the only people that know it are Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Naruto. And they've all been out of the village for months. Tsunade continued, looking increasingly bored and less sober by the second. Besides, the Rasengan wouldn't the style you've been developing. Sakura smiled and held out her hands. This was the first time she would be doing the Rasengan. Her clone had completed the jutsu. In theory, she would be able to do it as well. For a few breathless moments, nothing happened. The sound of a whirlwind erupted from her hand, joined by another and then another. Rotation and containment were child's play, the power was where she struggled. For a second it waned, then she tapped into her seal, summoning her resolve and chakra in equal measures. A perfect orb of spiraling energy appeared in her hands and a smile on her face. Sakura stared at it for just a moment. She had seen Naruto do it countless times, she had memories of her clone doing it. But to hold one in her own hand was something else. Then how do you explain this? Sweat soaked her forehead, and her breath became ragged. The combination of maintaining the Rasengan while feeding her 100-strength seal was too much. The volatile orb lasted for a mere 10 seconds before Sakura had to drop it. It felt like all the blood in her body had suddenly been thrust into her head, it hurt to breathe, her fingers felt cold. The symptoms were obvious, chakra exhaustion. She fell forward, then she was falling back. Then somebody caught her. For a few dazzled seconds Sakura thought that the blonde hair belonged to Naruto. Then the sickly sweet stench of alcohol stung her nose and brought a searing pain into her head. Sakura. Tsunade sounded worried. What was that? How did you? When? Why? There was more to it than that. Something about her being a stupid mule-headed girl, a bit of medical talk, but nothing really stuck as Tsunade's healing chakra ranged into her ears. Sakura swallowed, her mouth both wet and dry. Naruto taught my clone. Satisfaction forced its way through her incoherent state. Do you believe me now? Tsunade let out a small laugh mixed with a snort of disgust. About your clone, I don't know what to think, but I better hear you out so you don't end up killing yourself next time. That's good, Sakura mumbled, her eyes growing heavy. At some point, she had been moved to a chair where Tonton acted as her loyal guardian. I'll let Ino and her dad do the talking. For the better half of an hour, Sakura sat as she regained her senses, listening to Ino and her father's explanation of the events. They listed everything from likely causes, to possible solutions. Tsunade nodded, arms crossed as she leaned back onto her desk. Brown eyes were focused on Ino as she decided on a punishment. So, to make everything crystal clear, Tsunade pressed her palms onto her desk. Ino used a custom variation of the mind transfer jutsu to switch the bodies of Naruto and Sakura. Ino nodded, looking meek and defensive. And because Sakura had a mental aspect of her mind that was becoming unneeded, you believe that it simply fell off while Sakura's mind was in Naruto's body. Tsunade looked to Inoichi for confirmation. Or something grabbed it. A moment of silence drifted in the room as all the adults seemed to realize something. Sakura sat up, the last bits of her exhaustion fading from her mind. What grabbed it? Me. Oh, Inoichi snapped out of his thoughts. No idea. Minds tend to want to stay in a body, and it's just a theory anyway, nothing for you to worry about. Regardless, Tsunade said before any other questions could be asked. I'll be sending a team out to retrieve Jiraiya and Naruto and find out what exactly is going on. And hopefully an explanation on why Jiraiya hasn't said anything about a clone of Sakura following them around. Sakura, do you have an idea on where they might be? Tsunade walked around to her desk, pulling out a map. Haven't actually been tracking their movements recently. She'd been far too preoccupied with being jealous of her clone and wanting to beat the crap out of Ino to even look at what she deemed as a fruitless effort. I've been rather distracted recently, but I do know that they're near a port city in Tea Country. What are you distracted about? Tsunade turned her attention to the map placing marks on the coastline. When Sakura didn't answer, she looked up to her. Well, her clone has a date with Naruto. Ino chimed in helpfully. It's got her all kinds of bothered, and extra violent. Sakura sunk back into her chair, feeling Tsunade's bemused look on her was like standing next to the sun, yet her cheeks felt twice as hot and an icy sweat drenched her back. Tsunade finding out about her crush on Naruto was in many ways worse than her parents. Thanks, Ino, thanks a lot. 4x. In all honesty, outside of eating together, talking, and maybe going for a walk, Sakura had no idea what to do on an actual date. Sure, she had fantasies of Sasuke kissing her on a romantic candle-lit beach under a full moon while he confessed his love her, and that immediately followed another fantasy of an extravagant wedding. But that was in the past now. She was on a date with Naruto. And by some ungodly miracle, he knew what to do on a date, or at least was pretending that he did, and was just getting stupidly lucky at making her have fun. Sakura smiled as she placed a hand on the curtain, examining the duplicate of Naruto's necklace she had taken to wearing. It matched her eyes, but beyond that, it was something of Naruto's that he let her wear. It was important to him. Sure, it was just a fake, but so was she. With a flourish, Sakura flung open the dressing room curtain and strutted out in front of Naruto, who went from bored to gaping the second he saw her. His reaction made her regret not paying attention to him sooner. He looked at her how she had always wanted to be looked at, like she was the only person in the world. Well, she asked, spinning around in a pink sundress with strawberries and other red fruit splattered on it. The dress left much of her arms, shoulders, and neckline exposed, a perfect piece to wear for the pleasantly warm climate Tea Country was known for. What do you think? Ooh, it looks great on you, Sakura. Asking the boy that liked you if he thought you were pretty felt like cheating and was no way to get an unbiased answer. But it did wonders for her self-esteem. Besides, she was getting it for him. She gave him a small curtsy. Thank you, Naruto. Now, what's the plan? He took her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world, paying for the clothes and leaving the store to find the busy streets of a lively city. The sights and the smells were rich and fragrant, with every other store being a tea shop of some kind. But Sakura couldn't focus on any of that. Her attention was on Naruto's hand. It wasn't that it perfectly fit hers, it wasn't that it was too rough, or that his palm was sweaty. No, it was the confidence that he had taken her hand with. There was no hesitation or second guessing. He simply took her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like they had been dating forever. She found herself biting her lip as she squeezed Naruto's hand tighter, weaving through the merchant booths on a busy boardwalk overlooking a beach of white sand. She had expected the first time she held hands with a boy to be started by her after a few moments of hesitation. For her to ask permission just barely loud enough for him to hear. Not for it to feel like the 1000th time they've held hands. And yet, as much as it felt like the most natural thing in the world, there was still an air of excitement about it. It felt like it was the 1000th time they've done it for the first time. Was this what dating Naruto was going to be like? Both familiar and exciting all at the same time. And here we are. Naruto came to a sudden stop, allowing Sakura to catch up, her fingers intertwined with his. It was the first time she noticed how nervous Naruto was. His face was tinged with red and his smile was shaky. She squeezed his hand, drawing his attention back to her. You don't have to be nervous, Naruto. I want to be here. Each word sounded like a giggle. The nervousness vanished from his face, his shoulders drew back in pride. Thanks, Sakura. Anyway, let's go get some food. Minutes later, Sakura found herself biting into the most delicious strawberry she had ever had. It was covered in a thick gooey chocolate sauce with just the right amount of whipped cream to enhance the bitterness of the chocolate and the sour-sweet combination of the strawberry. Best of all, it was Naruto that was feeding it to her. Sakura squealed as she pulled the delicate berry off of Naruto's fork. Her lips barely touching the metal. She placed a hand over her mouth as she chewed the strawberry, eyes still locked on Naruto. It's so good. Cute. Naruto said in half a daze. Without thinking or not caring, he took a strawberry with his fork and plopped one into his mouth. His lips touching the metal where hers just did. An indirect kiss. Their first indirect kiss. Sakura felt her heartbeat go crazy. Her eyes darted from Naruto's lips as he savored the strawberry to the fork as it descended down towards another strawberry. Her lips already tingling from the berries, light acids, and with the prospect of having another indirect kiss with Naruto. Swallowing, she leaned forward, her mouth open just enough for the strawberry to slide in, with her eyes closed. Any second now Naruto would romantically place a delectable strawberry in her mouth. She'd wrap her lips around the fork, slowly around it as she pulled the strawberry off in order to get as much out of their second indirect kiss as possible. Any moment now. Any second. He was just picking out the best strawberry for her. Oh, man, the second one is even better. Sakura opened her eyes to see Naruto savoring his second strawberry. He presented her the fork like he would a kunai. Here, don't let me hog all of them. HMPH. Sakura snagged the fork, impaled a strawberry, and stuck it in her mouth in one fluid motion. It tasted just as good as the first one, but her salty mood spoiled it. Naruto still needed a lot of work when it came to being romantic, it seemed. She was going to have to through some heavy-duty boyfriend lessons with him. Sakura. Naruto brought her attention back to him. The fork was still in her mouth as she turned to face him. His face was so close. You got something on your cheek. Was it cream? It was cream, wasn't it? Was that why Naruto's face was so close? Was he going to eat off of her? This was too sudden. How on earth could she deal with this? Naruto was going to go from an indirect kiss to her lips to remove the cream. The fork. The fork was in the way. If it wasn't there, she could kiss him or something. Oh God, was that too soon? Sure, she'd only had her crush for a few months, but Naruto had liked her long before that. It was only fair right that he'd want to kiss her, but did she want to kiss him? The question would remain unanswered as Naruto's finger grazed her lips, taking the bit of cream with it. He stuck the finger in his mouth and smiled at her. Got it. He was teasing her. That had to be it. Naruto was doing this on purpose. He absolutely had to be. There was no other reason for him to be so smooth one moment and then completely oblivious the next. Worse still, it was working. Idiot. Sakura smiled, despite her blush, and took another strawberry for herself. Despite his romantic blunders, Naruto proved to be a perfect gentleman as they ate their main meal at the bakery. He was polite, well-mannered, and only a little bit of a slob. Best of all was that despite spending hours talking at the dinner table and having spent countless days talking to him, they never ran out of things to talk about. Even as they head out to the beach to enjoy the setting summer sun as it sunk below the horizon, Naruto was able to make her laugh with the same tired joke. How are you so good at this? Sakura asked, her feet partially buried in the warm beach sand. It amused her that they managed to spend a day at the beach without actually being at the beach. The summer fun of running around in the sea splashing water at Naruto while he stared at her was a wonderful idea. Good at what? Naruto asked, his hand on top of hers. Dating. Sakura smiled, looking towards the night sky as the oranges bled into blues and the brightest stars began to appear in the dark corners of the sky, far away from the fading sun and full moon. Being sweet, kind, and mostly romantic. Did you have somebody give you tips? Yep. Naruto admitted easily without a second thought. Ayame from Ichiraku's taught me some stuff and the pervy sage's advice isn't all that bad. He's the one that told me about the place with the strawberries. And something about them getting you in the mood. In what mood? Naruto just shrugged into a comfortable silence as the last bit of the sun fell below the horizon. How many times was she going to look up to the stars with Naruto and have everything feel right? She'd never looked up to the stars before, they never held the shine that they did when she was with him. They were never interesting. They were just the stars. But with Naruto, they were something else. A chill breeze brought a smile to her face. Hey, Naruto, I'm getting cold. Oh, yay, it is getting late. Naruto stood up, pulling her up as he did. We should probably head back. Sakura frowned, even as Naruto's had wrapped around hers. She didn't want the date to be over already. Naruto, when a girl you're on a date with says she's cold, what are you supposed to do? Take them inside. Sakura groaned and rubbed a palm into her forehead. No, you're supposed to give them your jacket. But then I'd be cold. Just give me your jacket. Moments later, Sakura was smiling into the warmth of Naruto's jacket. His real one was so much different from the replica she often appeared with. It was heavier, warmer. And it was Naruto's. You know, this date really has been great. Sakura paused on the sandy beach to look at Naruto, his blush visible thanks to the moon. You were cute, smart, funny, and well, I really want to go on another one with you. The look on Naruto's face told her everything she wanted to know. It was intoxicating being able to make somebody happy like that. She wanted to see him smile like that every chance she got now. Thanks, Sakura, I really want to go on another one with you. His smile lit up her night. How happy would he be if she kissed him? Screw it. Naruto, I'm going to kiss you. So not the romantic thing first kiss she wanted. But that didn't matter. She wanted to see what a kiss would do to him. What it would do to her. With her eyes closed, she leaned forward, trusting Naruto to remain still and let her do this. He stopped her by pushing her shoulders back away from him. I'm sorry, I can't. Why? She didn't know why she sounded so broken in that moment. Then it all came flooding in. Was it because she was just a clone? Was he in love with the real her and not the imitation that she was? Because I still have to keep my promise to you. Naruto smiled at her, leaning forward and pressing his lips onto her forehead. I'm sorry, but I just wouldn't feel right until I bring Sasuke home. 4x. You dumbass. Sakura stared up at the stars with a vicious snarl on her face. She was annoyed that her clone was still trying to take Naruto for herself. She was annoyed that it wasn't actually her that went on a date with Naruto. Annoyed that she was cold and didn't have Naruto's jacket, that her clone was the one to get kissed on the forehead. Even the small bit of satisfaction she got of Naruto refusing to kiss her clone vanished when Naruto's words stuck with her. Oh, she might be annoyed at her clone. But she was pissed at Naruto. There she was throwing herself at him and he was still concerned about bringing Sasuke back, by himself no less. Sure, she wanted Sasuke back too for a multitude of reasons. She could never bring herself to hate him. But that was no reason for Naruto to not let her kiss him. Staring up at the stars, Sakura noticed a shooting star dart across the sky. She smiled, knowing exactly what to wish for. A wish that she would be working towards tomorrow. To be strong enough to bring Sasuke back. The thought of her bringing Sasuke back before Naruto got back brought a smile to her face. There was no way it was going to happen. After all, she told Naruto that they would do it together. But the idea of seeing Naruto's reaction was too good. Raising her fist to the heavens, Sakura once again felt that sense of purpose urging her forward. Become strong, bring Sasuke back, and give Naruto some competition when it comes to Hokages to be. And if Naruto thinks I'm going to wait for Sasuke to come back before I kiss his dumbass, he's got another thing coming. Repeat after me. I am a backstabbing bitch hellbent on trying to steal my own boyfriend. Sakura glared. She glared at the slowly spinning fan on the ceiling, that was going far too slow for it to do anything but stir up the years of dust that had gathered on its blades. Her chair was too hard, the pillow too soft. She had a lot of things she should be doing right now, instead she was here. She just glared. Ino, I'm not saying that. Sakura glanced at her friend with enough ice on her shoulder to start a second ice age. She really didn't want to be here right now. Especially with Ino. And you're a shit psychiatrist. Why am I here again? And why is it with you? Ino just smiled and wrote something down in a notebook Sakura was going to burn later. Well, Lady Tsunade said that as punishment, I need to make sure that you don't go crazy. If anything, Ino was going to be the one driving her crazy. She said that you're also too much for a normal shrink and that you need somebody that can make you speak your mind and get you angry enough to speak your mind. That was hitting the nail on the head. Fine, but I won't enjoy it. Sakura huffed, arms and legs folded as she glared at the stupid fan. The damn thing was probably trying to hypnotize her or something. Maybe it would catch fire. But I'm still not going to say that. Fine. Then repeat after me. I'm jealous that I keep going out on dates with my boyfriend. That doesn't even make sense. Sakura growled. I can't be jealous of myself. But you are. She didn't have to sound so smug. No, I'm not. My bitch of a clone is. And they're not boyfriend and girlfriend yet. Sure, her clone was being really forward. Hell, she was pining over Naruto almost as badly as she was over Sasuke. Only Naruto actually responded, and they did go on a bunch of dates so far. They haven't kissed yet. You seal the deal with a kiss. Ino groaned. Okay, fine. I guess getting you to just admit stuff isn't going to work. So tell me about how you and Naruto train. There's nothing to admit. Sakura sunk further into the chair, couch thing. She was fairly certain that the damn thing was trying to give her back problems. And Naruto's training is going fine. He can do the Rasengan one-handed now. He's not as slow as he was before, and I think he's gotten a whole lot stronger. I'm sensing a but. Sakura continued, telling Ino to shut her mouth with her eyes. I think he could be a whole lot stronger if Jiraiya would actually train him. What do you mean? Ino asked between the scribblings of her pen. Well, it's just that Jiraiya is lazy, stupid, perverted, incompetent, clearly didn't deserve to be called a Sannin, let alone be entrusted with teaching Naruto. Kakashi would have done a better job. Hell, she was doing a better job and she was a genin. Well, he's just not as hands-on as somebody like Naruto needs. It drove her crazy. Naruto needed guidance, otherwise he was going to end up doing something stupid like making an even more perverted jutsu. He just sits there writing most of the time, or he's off peeping while he gives Naruto some vague direction to go in, leaving me and Naruto to try and do the training. Okay, so Jiraiya isn't the best teacher, but what about Kakashi? How do you think Kakashi did? Why were they on Kakashi now? Ino sucked as a shrink. Kakashi-sensei was great, I guess. I mean, it was because of him that I was able to almost beat you in the Chunin exams. He was also great with Naruto and Sasuke too. And how did he teach? Where was Ino going with this? Sakura sighed and pinched her nose. Well, at the start it was mostly just teamwork stuff, but he always knew what to teach us for what came next. Like before the Chunin exams, he gave me lessons on traps, and worked on my taijutsu. And before the fight with Zabuza and Haku, he was able to Sasuke and Naruto enough for them to beat Haku. And how did he do that? She wanted to punch Ino and shove that stupid notebook down her throat so hard she'd be shitting paper planes. Maybe she really did have anger issues. Well, he showed us the tree walking exercise. And did he walk you through each step? Well, no. Sakura snapped her head to Ino, who had a stupid smile on her face that was just begging to be slapped off. But it's totally different from how Kakashi taught us. And Kakashi's training was actually useful. I still use the tree walking exercise. I used to think that Shikamaru and Asuma's playing shogi was the dumbest, most useless thing ever. But it turned out to be something that helped improve Shikamaru's strengths. Ino leaned back into her chair staring at her notebook with the pen in her mouth. So maybe that's what Jiraiya's trying to do. What's Naruto's strengths? You know, the kind you don't really notice at first. Are you trying to work in a life lesson in this or something? Because you got like 15 minutes before our hour is up. No, I'm just trying to help you work out your anger issues that stem from your inability to accept the truth of your current circumstance. She could practically taste Ino's smugness. Which is, she had never been so grateful to have training with Tsunade later. She really needed to take her stress out on something. Rocks would be good, maybe a tree, anything she could punch and break would be fine. Ah, oh great, Ino was doing an old guy voice. That is something you must answer yourself. But really, I'm just here to point you in the direction, everything else is on your grumpy butt. You're a shit psychiatrist, you know that, right? Now who's wasting time? Just tell me what you want me to learn. Sakura stood up, arms balled in fists at her side. She was shouting now and very angry. Then it wouldn't be as impactful. Ino stood as well, throwing the notebook to the ground. Honestly, Sakura, you're supposed to be the smart one. This should be easy for you to figure out, but you're so hung up on God knows what that you can't accept the truth. What truth? Time's up. Ino smiled sweetly. Great work today, Sakura. I'm sure we'll get a breakthrough next week. She wanted to punch Ino in the face. Hard. 4x. The hot springs of Konoha were supposed to be a place of relaxation, healing, and enjoyment. The baths were often mixed with medical herbs to help scars heal and muscles relax. Rumor has it that the first Hokage built the springs for his wife Mito Uzumaki, and she, in turn, placed seals on it to keep it in perfect condition. But for Sakura, it was just a rocky puddle of hot water. It didn't relax her, it didn't make her feel at peace. All it did was make her feel even more stressed that she wasn't doing anything. It had been a few months since Tsunade had put the ninja teams on alert for Naruto, and so far not a one had been able to find so much as a trace of their passing or training. It was like Jiraiya was going out of his way to avoid Konoha ninja. Worse was that Naruto hadn't been summoning her as much of late. It weirded her out that Naruto might somehow be annoyed with her like Sasuke was. If Naruto started not liking her because of her stupid clone before he even got back to Konoha, she was going to, I don't know what I'd do honestly. Sakura slowly sunk into the water, her hair floating around her head like a pink curtain. She closed her eyes and tried to relax. Everybody said that she had too much stress, way too much stress. It wasn't her fault. She was a 14, or was it 15-year-old girl, that had a teammate turned traitor, was working shifts at the hospital as a nurse. Oh, and she kept getting the memories of her clone that was trying to steal her crush from her because she's a shallow backstabbing bitch. It was perfectly natural for her to be stressed out. Hopefully, Naruto liked bald women. To make matters worse, her therapy sessions with Ino were going absolutely nowhere. Her blonde friend kept trying make her see a truth that wasn't there or some other stupid bullshit. Wasn't therapy supposed to make her less stressed? Ino added hard. The only kind of therapy she needed was the punching kind. Hey, Sakura, a voice shouted from beyond the fence. It was male and slightly familiar. Get out of the water before you turn into a prune. A loud bark was more of a calling card. Kiba, what do you want? Sakura shouted back, water dripping off her body as she marched towards the exit. Kiba hadn't really interrupted her or anything, but she'd be damned if she let anybody get away with shouting at her while she was in the bath. I got a message from the Hokage for you. A message from Tsunade. This was her day off, right? She didn't miss training or anything. I'll be right out. Her hair was still wet by the time she got out to see Kiba and an Akamaru that looked to be about the size of a fully grown dog. A normal dog, that is. As a ninja dog he was still a puppy. What's the message, Kiba? Kiba smiled and rubbed the bridge of his nose at her. She said that Naruto's back. If there was a rest of the message, Sakura didn't hear it. Her legs were moving before she even gotten over the shock. It didn't make sense. From what she gathered from her clone, they were days away from the land of fire, let alone Konoha. But it was certainly possible. She could have misjudged the area or distance or something. But if a message from Tsunade said that Naruto was here, then Naruto was here. And if Kiba was pulling some stupid prank, then she'd break his nose. Her heart was pounding like drums in her ears as she sped towards the Hokage Tower, her wet hair slapping against her neck with every step. She should have put on makeup or got her hair done. This was her first time seeing Naruto in forever. She needed to impress him. To knock his socks off and hang them on her wall. But there was no time. Naruto was here. And he was just the kind of therapy she needed. A date with him sounded amazing right now. Hell, she'd even be willing to treat him to dinner at Ichiraku's. Oh, and that clone of hers. She was going to enjoy making the wretched thing suffer while she kissed Naruto. After a bit of torture, then they'd find a solution to have the clone go away. Naruto! Sakura shouted as she entered the Hokage Tower. She sped up the familiar stairs and barged through the doors of the office. Time froze as she entered the office. There was Jiraiya, looking as Jiraiya did. But then there was Naruto. Hey there, Sakura. Long time no see. Naruto said with a small smile. No, something was off. This Naruto hadn't changed. He wasn't at all like the Naruto she had been spending every day with for the past year with. It was like he hadn't changed or grown at all since the day he left. Ah, so is this the little troublemaker that had you call us back? Jiraiya turned to Sakura with a scowl. Yes, that's the one. Tsunade had a small frown on her face as she looked at Sakura. She did offer some concrete evidence, but with you here everything up in the air. Sakura felt lightheaded. It became difficult to stand straight, let alone think straight. What do you mean? We found them, near the last location of Jiraiya's letters. On the other side of the continent from where you said they were. Her master's words were like knives to the heart, stabbing and twisting at her every thought. No, none of this made sense. But, Sakura began, holding her head. Sakura, I don't know what kind of prank you were trying to pull. But something clearly isn't right for you to act like this. Tsunade sighed and placed her hands on the table. You were such a good student too. No, please no. Everything was falling around under feet. This can't be happening. So until further notice, you will be placed in psychiatric care. Master, Sakura stammered, her mouth moved and no words came out. She looked to Naruto. Why wasn't he defending her? He did liked her, right? This was just a bad dream, right? I'm sorry, Sakura, but if this really is some kind of prank, or if there is something wrong with you, then I can't have you as a student. The words were like thunder. Something snapped then. It was probably the stress getting to her. Or maybe it was something else that had been wanting to roar out for a long time now. Tears fell down her face as her mind raced to find a solution. Her eyes fell on Naruto. He wasn't really Naruto. Not the Naruto she had grown to respect and care for. If she could just prove that this wasn't Naruto, then everything would be fine. Naruto, make a shadow clone. She took a step forward, he took a step back. What, why? Because you're Naruto, right? It should be easy for you to make a shadow clone. She pushed the wet hair out of her eyes as she walked towards the shorter blonde. She was right, he hadn't grown at all since he left Konoha. Oh, the imitation was good. But she knew what the real Naruto looked like. Come on, Tsunade, can't you calm your student down? Jiraiya begged, stepping between her and Naruto. This wasn't like Jiraiya either. Sakura looked to her master. She continued towards Naruto. Each step seemed to last for an eternity. Master, I need to see this. Please just let me see him make a shadow clone. Tsunade let out a sigh. Naruto, just do what she asks, it's just one clone. What? But Naruto took a step back away from Sakura and Tsunade. I'm not feeling too good, so oh, come on, you're Naruto, right? You can make more shadow clones than anybody I know, even when you're halfway dead. She goaded as she took another step towards the fake phony imposter that called itself Naruto. Her hands were balled into fists as she walked past Jiraiya. She had him pinned now. No escape. But Naruto, just do the jutsu. Tsunade slammed her hands on the table hard enough for the desk to crack down the center. Jiraiya had leapt back to the other side of the room, his body pressed against the door. Come on Naruto, she had enough venom in her voice to kill a snake. Make a shadow clone, show her to me. She grabbed Naruto's arm and pulled it forward hard. There was a poof, and Sakura found herself holding the small hand of a slimy green frog. Don't hurt me Ribbit. The frog squirmed in Sakura's hand. Ribbit, Jiraiya told us to do it Ribbit. Jiraiya. Tsunade's growl was low enough to shake the earth. She started at the Jiraiya-shaped object as she advanced towards it, pushing both sides of her desk to the side. You better hope you're another one of his damn frogs, and you better have a damn good excuse for trying to trick me. The Jiraiya vanished in a poof of smoke and a blue frog took its place. I'm sorry Lady Tsunade. Croak Lord Jiraiya asked us to do this so that you wouldn't interrupt the training. That doesn't explain the lies about his location, or not sending word about my student's clone showing up every day. Tsunade leaned down to the frog. Now speak, before I decide to have salted frog for dinner. But we're toads. The one still in Sakura's hands flailed wildly. Sakura couldn't help but smile. It wasn't as good as Naruto being back in Konoha. But it felt good knowing that she wasn't crazy. And, she felt it then, the smallest rush of chakra that came in from fresh memories. The calm before the storm. 4x. Shadow clone jutsu. Something was wrong. Sakura knew that the moment she was thrust into the area. The very air was charged with a cloud of malice and anger. She could smell blood. Sakura quick. Naruto reached, grabbed her arm. Half his jacket burned off and a seal of some kind rested on his forehead. The most shocking feature was how his body was covered with a thin layer of burns like he had been hit by a fireball jutsu. Jiraiya's hurt. Sakura nearly vomited when she saw Jiraiya. He was drenched in blood, a giant wound in his chest was pouring blood like a primordial crater from which all life flowed. Her stomach wretched, but something held her back and steeled her nerves. She knew what to do. Naruto and modesty would have to wait. The blood had to be stopped. She tore off Naruto's jacket and pressed it into the wound to try and stem the flow of blood. To Jiraiya's credit, he barely winced. The procedures were automatic for her. Like they had been drilled into her 1,000 times, like she had done this again and again. She found the source of the bleeding, which was everywhere, and blocked it with her chakra. Next, she used the jacket to get as much of the blood out of the wound as possible. It barely missed your heart, Sakura muttered as she focused on mending the important flesh first, things like blood vessels and muscle tissue. A centimeter to the right or left and you would be dead. Jiraiya laughed, which made her life that much harder. Give me some credit girlie, my luck ain't that good. And this is exactly why I kept you around, knew one day Naruto or I would get hurt. Always useful to have an apprentice of Tsunade around. You talk too much, Sakura growled, all of her concentration was going into his wound. Slowly bit by bit the wound began to close. She had gone for an accelerated natural healing technique which amplified the body's natural regeneration 1,000-fold. It was ideal for repairing complex systems around the heart and bone. In just a few minutes it was as though Jiraiya had spent a month naturally healing in an intensive care unit. Naruto. She looked back at Naruto, his burns were already fading. Investigate later, medical attention now. I need bandages ASAP, and get me a lot of water. The blonde blinked at her wide-eyed. Had her hands not be covered in another man's blood at the moment she might have considered the look flattering. Now, she barked, and Naruto scurried away like a lost kitten. Minutes later Jiraiya's wound was dressed and he was spared any lasting injury save for a scar on his chest. It still amazed her how she was able to do this. It was like she knew how to do these things, but she couldn't remember the how or why. But what troubled her more was Naruto. He was now looking fresh, the burns he had should have taken much longer to heal. So what exactly happened? She asked with one eyebrow raised, hands on her hips. Her stance was wide and steady. If only to keep her from falling over. She was on the verge of vanishing. She used up too much of Naruto's chakra. Naruto looked between her and Jiraiya. He looked afraid, remorseful, and sad. Well, I kind of went a little too far training. Naruto Uzumaki. He nearly jumped out of his skin as she advanced forward, one steady footfall at a time. You're hiding something from me, and I want to know what it is. Well, I don't want you to be afraid of me, Naruto mumbled, taking a small step back. He kept flinching away from her eyes. She grabbed him by the shoulders, balling the tattered remains of his shirt in her hands. Listen here, Uzumaki. I like you a lot. Yes, you're annoying, stupid, loud, and an idiot, but I still like you, and if I can like you despite all that, then I can like you for whatever stupid thing you're trying to hide from me. If she wasn't so angry or drained, she'd bring her point home with a kiss. Despite what Naruto said about bringing Sasuke back, she still wanted to kiss him. And she was this close from snapping and making it crystal clear that she wasn't like the girl he left behind in Konoha. She was her own person and she cared about Naruto. Just tell her, brat, you're stuck with her anyway. Jiraiya waved his hand at the two of them, looking like he was watching a rerun he'd seen 1,000 times. Naruto stared at her for a long second. She could see tears welling in his eyes, yet despite that, it was a look of how she always wished Sasuke would have given her. She was glad it was Naruto. He tore his eyes away from her and drew in a long slow breath. I have the Kyuubi sealed inside of me. Jiraiya is training me to use it. Sakura blinked. Oh. Everything snapped then. Naruto's birthday, the way the villagers treated him, the chakra she saw when he fought Neji, the presence she felt on the bridge. It almost made her laugh. How could she not have noticed before now? You're an idiot, Naruto. With the last of her strength, she placed a kiss on his cheek. Summon me soon, okay? 4x. Ribbit, look, Wes, sorry, but we don't even know where's Jiraiya is. The blue toad squeaked under Tsunade's glare. But we can't let you disturb the kid's trainin'. You better tell me what I want to know or I'll make you croak. Tsunade growled, her hands around the toad's neck. Sakura stared at her most. Tears poured from her eyes against her will. She tried to blink them away, and rub them away, but they kept coming. It's the Kyuubi, isn't it? The room grew silent and all eyes were on her. That's the training Naruto's doing. Why he left the village. Why Jiraiya is being so secretive. Naruto has the Kyuubi inside of him. She walked towards her teacher. She couldn't believe it. Why him? It felt so wrong for somebody like Naruto to have the Kyuubi sealed inside of him. He was so nice, not anything like how she pictured somebody holding a demon at bay might act. It wasn't fair. Did he tell you? Tsunade went from threatening the toad to hugging her so quick and made her head spin. She returned the hug in a heartbeat. Yay. Just now, Jiraiya got hurt. I healed him as best I could though. Sakura blubbered out, her mind racing a million miles. Reliving every past instance where she was cruel to Naruto simply because other people were too. Sure, he was actually annoying, but a fair amount of her dislike was simply because everybody else disliked him. Why him? Why was the Kyuubi sealed into him? Why would the fourth Hokage do that? Tsunade rubbed a small circle on Sakura's back. I don't know, I wasn't around then, but I guess it was bad luck that Naruto was just there. Sakura looked at the photo of the fourth Hokage. His blonde hair, his blue eyes. The Kyuubi. That was the final piece that made the conclusion snap. Konoha had plenty of blonde-haired men with blue eyes. Any of them could have spawned the orphan that was Naruto. But Naruto had the Kyuubi sealed inside of him. Sakura's mouth went dry. It's because Naruto was his son, isn't it? Tsunade tensed before a soft chuckle melted her away. You continue to surprise me, Sakura, and I'm sorry for ever doubting you. It's time I give you the trust you deserve from me. Maybe you can be the one to tell Naruto this. It's not something I want to do, or Jiraiya. Tsunade looked at her with eyes laced with sadness. Yes, Naruto is his son, and his mother was the previous container of the Kyuubi, Kushina Uzumaki. Felt like she had been struck by lightning. Lightning that had just drunk its third pot of lacing with crack, soldier pills, and enough sugar to rot a tooth in 3.2 seconds. It hit her in the middle of the night, interrupting a pleasant dream that involved foot massages, a Hokage's hat, and lots of giggling. Sakura shot out of her bed, tripping on the covers as she made her way to the bathroom. Her brain registered that as the closest mirror even as she sped past the mirror that was attached to her door. Slipping onto the slip rug of her bathroom, Sakura turned the light on and scrambled up onto her feet. She could feel it, it was there. It was done. After nearly 2 years of gathering chakra, the seal was complete. She had to see it. For a moment she stared at the hair that covered her forehead like a present wrapped at Christmas. Biting her lip she swept the hair out of the way, catching just a glimpse of the diamond that now rests on her forehead, like a brilliant green island filled with life. She let her hair fall back over it. I did it. Sakura let out a squeal as she stomped her feet in rapid succession. She couldn't believe it. Even if it was thanks to her clone and Naruto, she had still managed to do the impossible. She let out another squeal, flipping her hair back again. Maybe it'll give Naruto a target to kiss. A yawn that sounded more like a wounded bear than a human signaled her father, dragging his feet to the bathroom door. He gave a squinting blink as he stared at her, the bathroom light shining against his slightly pink hair. Sakura, sweetie, it's 2 in the morning. Dad, look. Sakura pointed towards her forehead. It finally formed. This is the happiest I've ever been. Kazashi looked at her like he was too old for this shit and let out another massive yawn. Mebuki. He was silent for a moment as he waited for her mother to wake up, or respond. It's puberty related, you're up. Her father's complete lack of excitement, attention to detail, and understand did not come as a surprise to Sakura. Dad, it's a ninja thing, I just completed the strength of 100 seal. At 2 in the morning. Her father rested against the door frame in extreme lethargy. For as energetic as her father was during the day, when the night hit he was completely dead on his feet. You couldn't like to complete it during an epic battle or something. It doesn't work like that, Dad. Sakura rolled her eyes and attempted to part her hair so as to properly show off her seal. It was odd how she had spent much of your youth trying to hide her forehead. With Naruto's words she had started to show it off more. With her new seal she wanted the entire world to see her giant forehead. It stood as a testament to the world that she was going to surpass Tsunade before they even knew what hit them. She gave another squeal and smiled in the mirror. Why's your daughter freaking out tonight? Mebuki shoved past her husband, looking much more put together than her father, as she often did. She gave her daughter a quick look up and down before she elbowed Kazashi hard in the side. Ow, hey. What did I do? Kazashi groaned, rubbing his side. We said no tattoos. Why does our daughter have a tattoo? Why'd you let our daughter get a tattoo? Her mother had the ability to go from nothing to shouting in a heartbeat. Kazashi laughed and backed away from his wife. Look, it's not what you think. It's a seal or something. Sakura. What is it again? Why can't I get a tattoo? Sakura asked, adding another item to the list of rules she had no idea of. And don't worry, it's just a seal. While her father had managed to maintain a healthy career as a genin, he lacked any form of leadership ability. Her mother's bout as a ninja lasted 2 years into the academy, where she decided that being a ninja wasn't her thing. Which made her a little ignorant about shinobi stuff. A seal. Mebuki took a step behind her husband, glaring at the diamond on her daughter's head. Why do you have a seal? Why is it sealed inside of you? What's sealed inside of you? Chakra, and it's something that Tsunade taught me how to do. It'll help me out in a fight, or when I need to heal a bunch of people. Sakura tried her best to explain as calmly as she could. She had a feeling where her mother's dislike of seals came from. The woman was cursed with just enough information to draw her own conclusions. I thought you became a medical ninja so you wouldn't have to fight. Mebuki stepped away from her husband and marched up to her daughter. She placed a hand on both shoulders. I was so grateful that my daughter was going to become a successful doctor. But now I find out that you still intend on fighting. Sakura gave her mother an unapologetic smile. I never wanted to stop fighting, not if I want to be the Hokage someday. Sakura paused as a look of horror spread across her parents' face. Though likely for different reasons. Her father's face mirrored the one when she told him she was going to participate in the Chunin exams. Her mother's was one of pure terror. Oh, did I say that out loud? She knew she did. Kazashi acted first, bolting towards his bedroom like he had just consumed an entire pot of coffee. Mebuki was less composed as she broke out in tears. Sakura, you can't become the Hokage. None of them have ever retired. I forbid you from becoming the Hokage, it's not allowed. Sakura could do nothing but bite her lip and try to hold her tongue against her mother. Mom, I'm sorry, but I don't think you can stop me. But, Mebuki wiped her head around to see her husband trying to run while putting his pants. Kazashi, where are you going? Get back here and help me. I'm going to go train. If our daughter's going to become Hokage, I need to at least be a Jonin. Kazashi shouted as he either ran down the stairs loudly or fell down them. What? I thought we agreed you'd stay. She was interrupted by the front door slamming. Sakura just gave her mother a warm smile. It would appear that she was now a carrier of Naruto's infection dream that seemed to make everybody want to become stronger. 4x. What do you think, Sakura? There were many things that Sakura thought. Mostly, about how she and Naruto were unofficially a couple. They were official in that they went on dates all the time, they cuddled together and did various couple things. But they still hadn't kissed. Sure, she gave Naruto kisses on the cheek whenever she could, even sneaking a bit of side lip action in there when she could, and Naruto's forehead kisses made her heart dance. But it wasn't the same. She wanted Naruto to press her against the wall while they made out, her hands grabbing fistfuls of his greasy blonde hair, his knee between her legs, keeping her pinned as his hand roamed along the underside of her shirt, caressing her soft skin with his calloused fingers, sending shivers along her entire body. She let out a wistful sigh and looked Naruto up and down. It was a simple outfit similar enough to his old one that it was an upgrade in style without redefining who he was. But that wasn't all, she simply liked to look at him. He was just so Naruto, and that was the most amazing thing in the world to her. It hit her then with the full weight of the world. Her crush on Naruto had developed to something truly amazing. It was what she had once felt for Sasuke, or at least what she had thought she felt. Sure, she still loved Sasuke, the same as she loved her parents or Kakashi. But she was in love with Naruto, she was head over heels in love with him. In 2 years they had gone from barely friends to being in love. And it was amazing. Sakura, are you okay? Naruto asked. He hadn't moved from where he stood to pose for her in his new outfit. But there was a look of concern on his face. With her elbow on her knee and cheek in her hand, Sakura smiled up at him. I love it, Naruto. Unlike with Sasuke, she wasn't just going to blurt it out every time she saw him. No, Naruto was an idiot. He'd probably think that she was lying if she told him right now. Besides, she was only slightly above telling him that she loved him inside of a clothing store. She didn't want it to be a surprise either. By the time she told Naruto she loved him, it wouldn't come as a surprise or any kind of revelation, just a confirmation. She stood up and fixed the collar of his jacket. I can't wait to steal it from you. Oh well, you can have this one if you want. She stopped his hand from unzipping it. Naruto, you're missing the point. I want to wear that jacket because it's yours, she said in her best flirting voice. But then can't you wear the one you appear with? He was so lucky he was cute. But then I wouldn't be wearing your jacket, just a copy of your jacket. Honestly, Naruto, have a bit of class, don't you think I'm cute when I wear your jacket? Naruto froze, a blush spreading across his face. Well, I always think Sakura is cute and stuff. Good. Now get the jacket and. Sir. A voice from the door sounded. Is there someone else in there with you? Need I remind you that changing rooms are one per customer? The handle was turning. I'm not quite dressed. Naruto shouted, trying to make it sound like he was getting dressed in a hurry. All you brought in there was a jacket, sir. I certainly hope you're still decent. The door was opening. Sakura shrugged and dismissed herself. The benefit of being a clone is that she can follow her boyfriend in anywhere. 4x. Earth to Sakura, are you there? Ino bopped her on the head with that infernal notebook that she could have sworn she burned at least 3 times by now. Ino's face then lit up like a light bulb and she opened the notebook, scribbling with a pen that the blonde always seemed to carry with her. Oh, I know you just got some new memories, right? Well, what are they? Really, Ino? You want to do a session while we're on the way to the Chunin exams? Sakura glared at her friend as they walked along the dirt road that led towards the village hidden in the grass. The city was already visible to them, with its towering modern buildings. Even the tallest building in Konoha, the Hokage building, was tiny compared to them. Hey now, you're the one that came begging me and Choji to be your team in the Chunin exams because the least you could do is indulge me. An excited Ino was nearly as unbearable as an excited Naruto. Sure, Naruto was more energetic and louder, but Ino was manipulative and had questionable morals to get what she wanted. I'm afraid without that information I might just not feel up to doing the exams, ya know. Cunt. Fine, I'll tell you, Sakura grumbled as she took a step closer to Ino so as the rest of their company couldn't hear them. It was fine for Ino to hear, but the others, especially Rock Lee and her father, did not need to know anything. It still amazed her that her father was participating in a Chunin exam, his first one since she was born. He even got a bunch of other repeated failures to join him. As bad as it was to say, Sakura didn't think they had the chance to pass. The third team from Konoha to join them was Lee, Tenten, and Neji. Naruto was finally getting a replacement to his jacket, and wanted my clone's advice if it looked good on him. Sakura eyed around to make certain no one was actually listening. So far she had managed to successfully keep her parents from finding out about everything, including her crush on Naruto. Though she couldn't call it a crush anymore. Oh, got a reverse strip show from your boyfriend now, did you? Ino said almost too loudly. Shish, if you want to know, keep it down. Sakura waved her hands in front of Ino's mouth to try and catch the extra noise. And he's not my boyfriend, he's my clone's boyfriend. Ino rolled her eyes and let out a long exaggerated sigh that stretched on for longer than necessary. Fine, fine. Well, how did Naruto look then? Like Naruto, Sakura said, feeling as though she was on cloud 9 as she remembered seeing the feelings were all there in crystalline clarity. But that's what's important, he did look good in the jacket. But my clone realized that she's in love with Naruto. And what about you? Ino asked. What about me? Sakura retorted, folding her arms in defense. Do you love Naruto? Ino said in that way she had like the answer was the most obvious thing in the world. Yay. The word didn't surprise her, the revelation that she was in love with Naruto didn't surprise her. It was how easy it was to admit it that surprised her. The word just flew from her mouth as easy as a breath. There was no hesitation, no embarrassment, not pinning. Just a warmth that spread through her entire body. I kind of do love him. But why do you love him? Ino asked, scribbling nonsense into that stupid notebook. You haven't even seen him in what is it now? 2 years? Hell, you don't even write each other, so how can you fall in love with him? Why did she love Naruto? Well, he was Naruto, he was sweet, kind, loyal, infatuated with her, always treated her like she was the most important person in the world. And there was just the way he looked at her. It was how she wanted to be looked at. Well, I see him every day, and you see him or your clone does. Ino's words cut like a scalp, dismantling what little reasoning Sakura had. Sakura bit her lip, she had only just realized that she was in love with him. How on earth was she supposed to defend that idea? She had so many memories of him being sweet and taking her out on random dates. He made her laugh without thinking, he made her feel special, he made her fall in love. That's all there was to it. What does it matter, I still get the memories. That's how I fell in love with him, my memories. With an exaggerated motion, Ino placed her hand her forehead. Finally we get to the point, honestly I thought you were smarter than that. What are you talking about now? What we've been talking about. Ino's voice was at a whispered yell. The two locked eyes for a moment. You know, you, yourself, and your boyfriend. As much as I want him to be, he's not my. Sakura was interrupted as Ino grabbed her shoulders and began to shake her violently, bringing them to a dead halt. Yes, he is. I've been trying to beat this into you for like a year. Ino was shouting now. Honestly, I thought that this would be easy. Hell, you even said it yourself when you dragged me to the Hokage. Your clone doesn't think she's you, but she is a part of you. So yes, Naruto is your boyfriend. It made sense, more sense than she was willing to admit. If she thought of her clone as a part of herself, then that would mean she actually did all those things. It was her that was dating Naruto, it was her that had spent so much time with him, it had always been her. But would it really be that easy to simply remove that festering ball of jealousy she had been following her around for these past months? To her delight, those feelings melted away into nothing, making way for joy and happiness. Naruto's my boyfriend. The words tasted sweet, of honey and oranges, leaving a tingling on her lips as though she had just kissed a fairy, that spread through her entire body, warming her entire body like she was being held. It was addicting. Naruto is my boyfriend. I'm sorry. Her father's voice echoed from behind them. What's this about a boyfriend? Crap. So much for keeping this a secret from her parents. 4x. Blood was on her hands. The Chunin exam had gone relatively well. They had managed to decipher the riddle in the first round, survived the maze of grass. But it was the final tournament round where things went downhill for Sakura. You know you missed your match, right? A woman's voice sounded from the entryway. Sakura had all but taken over this room of the infirmary. Not because of a dislike of the grass ninja medical skills, it was mostly because the leech summons they relied on creeped her out. Sakura looked towards the boy whose life just moments ago she had saved. He had to be no older than she was during her first Chunin exam. She didn't even know his name, but an accident during his match had eviscerated him. I couldn't just let him die. He would have been dead too. Her body acted on its own, expressing all the training and purpose that Tsunade had drilled into her. Before she knew it, she was over the railing, disqualifying herself as she interfered with a match. He's not even from your village. He's still an ally. She didn't need the justification. Sakura turned to look at the woman and found her mouth agape. Dressed in the ninja attire of a grass ninja was Futaki, the girl that had claimed to be the daimyo's daughter from the land of rivers. Sakura immediately wanted to punch her pretty face. The girl had gotten taller, more womanly, as though puberty refused to let go of her. Futaki smiled at her and gave a small wave. She bounced. Just waving her hand made her bounce. Long time no see. Sakura, right? Is Naruto around? My boyfriend. It felt so good to say that to this stupid hussy was practically throwing herself over Naruto. Isn't here, right now. And what about you? I thought you were the daughter of the daimyo in the land of rivers, not a grass ninja. Even her laugh oozed womanly attraction. A broken nose could fix that laugh, make it more a wombat snort. Oh, no, not from the land of rivers, though I suppose I never properly introduced myself to you. She gave a perfectly practiced bow. My name is Futaki Osara, youngest daughter of Lord Ikki Osara, daimyo of the land of grass. I'm also a chunin of the village hidden in the grass. She returned from the bow, with that stupid perfect smile of hers that could make any man faint. Then what were you doing in the land of rivers? Sakura kept her voice as neutral as possible, which was just shy of growling through her clenched teeth. This woman rubbed her in so many wrong ways. Oh, my father sent me there to woo the young daimyo of the land, and offer me as his trophy wife. There was a hidden malice behind the girl's every word. Needless to say, that plan failed, and now the Lord of the Rivers is betrothed to the love of his life, that just so happened to be a servant girl. I wonder how that happened. Sakura squared her shoulders, as a bit of female companionship flooded over her. She might hate Futaki, but the idea of being forced into a marriage made her skin crawl. Is that why you were flirting with Naruto? Futaki offered her a simple shrug. Not really. There were plenty of other boys that were looking for a cute girl like me, but Naruto wasn't like them. I saw him and had to talk to him. I still think about him from time to time. Diplomatic repercussions are not Sakura. It was taking all her energy to not punch the taller woman through the wall. You only met him for a few minutes. Leave a lonely princess to her fantasies of being whisked away by a charming young princess, will you? She grumbled and folded her arms beneath her bosom. Not like I stood a chance with him, not with you around. The anger was replaced by curiosity. What do you mean? Futaki snorted and turned so that her profile was towards Sakura. Stupid good-looking noble genes. That boy would do anything for you. I'm honestly a little envious. Though, I'm glad you finally came to your senses and saw his value. Thanks, me too. Sakura smiled and brought a hand up to her beating heart. Maybe this woman wasn't the worst person in the world. Though, if things don't work out, be sure to send him my way. Scratch that, she was still a giant bitch. Or if you ever want a three-way, I'm starting to see what he sees in you, once you get past all the anger. With that, Futaki turned to leave, her hips swaying opposite her hair, in a way that was meant to be provocative. Worst thing was that it worked more than Sakura cared to admit. The woman turned back to catch Sakura staring and smiled. Oh, I was sent down here to tell you that your Hokage wishes to speak to you. Stupid bitch. She was already in a three-way with her own mind. There was only so much teasing a love-struck teenage girl could take before she snapped. And that's exactly what Naruto was doing to her. He knew exactly what he was doing by training without his shirt on. Worse was that he was doing it on her 16th birthday. And they were a week away from Konoha, where the real Sakura was lying in wait to no doubt steal Naruto from her. Or worse, get rid of her. No, she needed to lay her claim on Naruto. To make certain that he wouldn't ever be able to forget her. To make him hers. She was going to kiss him. To hell with his promise. Sakura looked around the familiar territory of the Land of Fire. There were trees everywhere. Jiraiya wasn't anywhere nearby. It was just her and her shirtless boyfriend in the middle of a beautiful forest. It would be romantic enough for their first kiss. Jiraiya had said something about finding an inn tonight as well. Hey, Naruto. She swayed her hips in a way that drew his eyes to her slender waist. She supposed it was partially her fault that he was shirtless. She did steal his jacket again. Naruto's eyes felt like fire on her skin. If it was anybody else, she'd pound them for being perverted. But it was different with Naruto. Do you know what day it is? He swallowed when she came to a stop, hip popped to one side. It was so easy to exploit his weakness. Certain looks, stances, and words made Naruto putty in her hands. Well, more than he normally was. Wednesday. Yes, but what's today's date? She walked up close to him, less than an arm's length away from him. March 20. Naruto's eyes went wide as realization set in. He swept her up into a giant hug, burying her head into the nook of his shoulder and neck. I'm so sorry. I forgot it was your birthday. What should I do? Oh, I know, I'll give you something. Is there anything you want? Sakura smiled and returned Naruto's hug. He was sweaty, gross, smell, slightly sticky, but above all else, he was mouth-wateringly hot. Was it wrong that she looked up ab workouts and made him do them a year ago? The results said no. It's okay, Naruto, I almost forgot myself. She'd been keeping track since she realized what month it was 27 days ago. Still, I feel bad. Is there anything I can get you? Knowing her lovable idiot, he'd probably worry himself into a rut over forgetting her birthday. Sakura pushed Naruto away, and huffed at him. It took all her willpower not to smile. What makes you think I even want anything at this point? Forgetting your girlfriend's birthday is a major no-no. Just the right amount of milking before she struck. Naruto's hands were on her shoulders in a heartbeat. Please don't be mad, I'll do anything you want, just name it. Kiss me. Sakura smiled up at him. The difference in height was noticeable and so alluring. Naruto relaxed when he finally saw through her ploy. In no time at all, he laid a tender kiss on her forehead. As much as she enjoyed the kisses to her forehead, as much as they just seemed so perfect, as much as she wanted one every day when she saw Naruto. She wanted more. She wanted so much more. She wanted more. So much more. There you go, Sakura. Happy birthday. Naruto held his arms out wide as though to offer her the world. I really am sorry I let it slip my mind. You missed. Sakura glared up at him as her devious plan was going just as she expected. She grabbed Naruto's face and brought it down to hers. It's my birthday, and when I said I wanted a kiss, I meant a real kiss. She didn't leave room for Naruto to protest. She didn't give him time to think as she kissed him with 2 years' worth of pent-up kissing frustration. Oh, who was she kidding it was? At first, he didn't respond, her lips just pressing against his. There was no slow build-up, no signal for the torrent of emotions that flooded into the kiss. The dam that had separated their desires vanished, allowing conflicting rivers to battle for supremacy of the fertile land of their love. Neither one of them were good kissers. But the process of learning was just as exciting. With every breath they took, every second they spent staring at each other's eyes, they got better, learning what worked and what didn't. Experimentation was key. And every kiss only made her want more. So much more. After it felt like forever had ended in an instant, they parted for a lasting second. Naruto's hot breath still tingled with hers as he rested his forehead against hers, their noses touching in a sweet Eskimo kiss. Wow. Naruto swallowed. His hands had found their way under her shirt to her back, where the hot skin-on-skin contact sent lightning storms of pleasure along her body. It felt so wonderful to have her arms wrapped around his neck. She never wanted to let go. Can we do that again? Her answer was to leap upwards, wrapping her legs around Naruto's waist while his hands moved to be placed firmly on her. He squeezed and she kissed him deeply. Every blissful second only made her addiction run deeper. Naruto stumbled forward, pinning her against the tree as the two of them continued to learn more about each other, seeking pleasure for both of them in new and interesting ways. When their tongues got involved, Sakura thought she might. Rational thought had abandoned her as her feet hit the ground, Naruto's hands still grabbing handfuls of her bottom. She peeled Naruto's jacket off and quickly began to remove her shirt. The kiss ended as her shirt passed between them, and Naruto got an eye full of her bare chest. It wasn't the first time that he had seen them, but it was the first time she had showed them to him. His eyes went wide as saucers. One hand released her to travel along her navel to just below her where he paused. I just did it so we're even. Sakura blushed. Her entire body felt like it was on fire under Naruto's perverse stare. Boldness and desire won out over embarrassment as she took his hand and placed it on top of her. She needed to be bold if she wanted to make certain the Sakura in Konoha wouldn't be able to sink her teeth into her man. Well, do you like it? Daga. Naruto gave up on words and just nodded dumbly, his eyes never staying in one place for very long. He finally gave her a squeeze and mumbled. Soft. It was probably the 3 years she spent with the biggest pervert in the world and his perverted apprentice speaking, but Sakura's hand traveled down Naruto's stomach, admiring his muscles that she would love to eat dinner off of. See it. Before she had the time to even consider her actions, she fell to her knees, unzipping Naruto's pants, revealing his blue underwear that was straining against his erection. The bitter smell of sweat hung in the air and was almost enough to drive her away. But then as she touched it through his underwear and she heard him groan, it was like adding fuel to the already roaring flame of her desire. Sakura, Naruto groaned out at the slightest of her touches. Hey, brats. Jiraiya boomed from nearby, either for once having the tact to announce his arrival or announcing that he already knew what they were up to. I got us a place to stay tonight. That was perfect. Summon me tonight, after a bath. Another good thing about being a clone, she wouldn't have to wash Naruto's sperm off of her. At least not right now. Tonight she was going to make certain that Naruto wouldn't ever think about the Sakura in Konoha. Before she vanished, she smiled at him. Or during your bath. 4x. Hey, forehead. Ino shouted from the other end of the couch they were carrying through a doorway. You okay? Sakura shook her head and looked at her blonde friend wide-eyed and completely lost. The memory of what had just occurred ran havoc through her mind and body, causing her entire face to heat up and an unusual tingle in her lower region. In a second she went from normal and slightly frustrated that she was spending her birthday moving furniture to horny as all hell, and Ino flipped onto the couch and began to act like she was dying in a really bad play. Alas, I cannot, for I crave knowledge more than I crave food. Should I not receive this, then I shall wither and perish. To finish of her grand performance, Ino let out a croak and went limp. Fine, I'll tell you as we work. Maybe venting would be a great way to relieve some of her tension. Oh, who was she kidding? Likely the only person that could do that would be Naruto. Why couldn't she be the one stuck with a clone of Naruto? Ino rolled off the couch and resumed her duties of carrying at least some of the burden. So, what's the deal? Is it some birthday? You remember how I was frustrated that Naruto refused to let me kiss him? Sakura asked as she shifted the weight of the couch, moving it towards the spot she had picked out. Yay. Ino nodded, doing her best to do as little work as possible. Oh, did Naruto finally snap and succumb to your feminine wiles? No, I was the one that snapped. I asked him for a birthday kiss and he did the forehead kiss thing. Sakura felt the phantom tingles of her kiss on her lips. Her first kiss was burned into her mind. He did, and it was sweet like always. But that wasn't enough. So then you pushed him against a tree and forced him to kiss you. Yay. That's pretty much what happened. Despite the fact that it was her pressed against the tree, Sakura gently set the couch down while Ino just let her side drop. Those marks weren't going to come out easy. Wow. You must have been repressed for you to go from the first kiss to hell bent on losing your virginity in one day. Ino flopped back down onto the couch, somehow managing to look like she had been there for hours. An evil glint appeared in her friend's blue eyes. Almost like you're missing a step. Well, maybe, but that's for me to know and you to find out. Sakura huffed and examined the room with a sense of pride. It had taken a long time, but the house was finally finished. And right on time for Naruto to come back. Well, as Naruto hung, like a horse, the words flew out of her mouth before her brain had even registered the question. With a squeak, Sakura flung her hands over her mouth to keep any other traitorous words from escaping. She was still trying to come to terms with the fact that she gave Naruto a blow job. Now Ino knew, and then everybody else was going to know. And why was this making her hornier? Damn it. Naruto better satisfy her. Damn it. Why was she the one that became a pervert? She blamed Naruto. And Jiraiya. Mostly her stupid boyfriend. Oh. Ino mewed like a cat. How big are we talking? You don't need to know that. Sakura howled. Honestly, Ino, it's like you're trying to live your love life through me. Ino just smiled. Call it a hobby, but fine, I won't ask for any more details. Naruto's not that far out though, is he? If you run you might be able to interrupt yourself mid-coitus. The thought had crossed her mind. It was through her request that Tsunade had stopped the alert for Naruto and Jiraiya. Tsunade disagreed at first, saying she already had Jiraiya's tombstone picked out. It was Sakura's plan that had convinced her. With a huff, Sakura sat down on the couch, pushing Ino's legs out of the way. As tempted as I am, Naruto will get here when he gets here. Besides, there's still a lot I need to do before he gets here. Like learning how to make something edible. Sakura gave Ino a dark glare. I'm not that bad. Besides, Naruto has clones. He should be the one to do the housework and stuff, not like he doesn't have domestic skills already. You sure you'd be okay with eating ramen for like? Ino twirled her finger in the air to demonstrate a vague amount of time. Ever. I'd eat ramen every day if I didn't have to do laundry or dishes. Sakura leaned back, enjoying the comfort of her new couch, although new was a relative term considering she bought it used from a yard sale. Actually, all of the furniture she had bought was used. Except for the bed. I still can't believe you've done all this for him. Ino gestured to the house they were residing in. Just a few months ago the place was a dump, and now it feels like a home. This was her gift to Naruto. A fully furnished house, ready for a young couple to spend their lives together, and fit for a family as well. But beyond that, it was Naruto's, to begin with. It was his rightful childhood home, partially destroyed by the Kyuubi attack, ransacked, and abandoned. But it was still his. And now because of her, it was a home. Their home. Well, it's not just for him, it's closer to the hospital so I can come crash here after a long shift or something. That was just the lie she told her mother and father, and apparently Ino. Mostly it was to have her space with Naruto. PFF'd. Excuses, just admit that you want a place of your own so you can screw Naruto's brains out. Not entirely a false. 4x. Shadow clone jutsu. Was it just her love that made everything with him feel better? Naruto stopped worshipping her and continued on his kiss pilgrimage down her navel, sending tremors throughout her body that mingled with the spasms his fingers were causing. Something was building. Something big, a massive feeling ready to explode as soon as it was complete. She was close when she felt Naruto's fingers exit her. Both of his hands were now firmly placed on her. Please, don't stop, she begged, feeling his kisses as they continued down towards her. Wait, was he? He kissed her there at her entrance, teasing her in the most perverse way possible. His fingers were one thing, but his tongue was another. The flexible muscle spun circles inside of her. His hot breath stoking the flames of that building feeling of pure pleasure. Already her mind was going blank as more and more of her attention was drawn towards her sensitive area where Naruto was working. Then she hit it. An orgasm. Naruto. She called out his name as she gripped his hair, desperately trying to push Naruto further inside of her. Holy crap, Naruto. Her knees were weak and she fell forward into his arms as the shockwaves of her first orgasm continued to rock her world. Happy birthday, Sakura. Naruto whispered as he kissed her forehead. She might have been disgusted if she thought about what he had just been doing. But she didn't care. All she wanted was more of Naruto. She kissed him again and again. Did Jiraiya get a separate rooms? He pulled some strings. Her smile didn't last long as new memories of Naruto trying to summon her, only for her to dispel herself out of embarrassment. It was going to be a long night.